Hello everyone, and welcome to Learnable Nonprofit. Today, we'll be going through the first video of the introduction to modules, where we'll be going through the random module. So let's get into it. So before we start off with like the random modules or whatever, you may not specifically be familiar with it. What exactly are modules? In simple term, it is a file that contains Python code. And we can use that code in our programs because they're already written in another file. So we can just simply use them. Since we did functions before, right? We have a better understanding on using modules because calling functions and calling modules are basically the exact same thing. So now let's go into the random module, okay? So it's a module based on random and it gives random functions. Not like random functions, but like it allows functions to generate random numbers. And it allows a computer to pick the random numbers, and to call it, use import random. So now you're wondering the random functions. Because we did functions in the last class, hopefully you have a better idea on what exactly this is doing. We can kind of go through this like a little more step by step. So let's go through the first function, right? Random. So if you look in the previous slide, it says import random. That name is very important. So use that name. So use random.random. What does that mean? Okay. Basically, what's happening here is you have the random name, right? The name of the import is called random. So you do random dot. So now you're going into this file name. So because like all the functions are in one file, right? That is, you did not make that file. Somebody else made that file. So you do random dot, and then this is the function name, random with the two parentheses. Based on last class, you hopefully know that the random or like the function name parentheses executes the function. And if there's a return function, and if there's a return value, it'll replace that with the value. Hopefully you remember that from last class. If you need any help with that, go back to the previous video and kind of watch that a little bit more. But basically, you're going into the file, dot, now you're going into the function, parentheses. And this returns a float between 0 and 1. We will practice coding with this very soon. So if you don't get this quite yet, we'll go through it again. So there's another one, random.randint, start, comma, stop plus 1. Basically the same thing. Random, that's the import name, dot randint. Randint is the function, and start and stop plus 1 are the function, are the parameters. So based on, again, last class, we went over parameters and those kind of stuff. This is it. And these both return a value. So that's why it replaces this entire thing with that value. So it returns a number between the start and the stop. And you have to put the plus 1 because it won't count the last number. For example, if you want a number between 1 and 10, you have to put the start as 1 and the stop as 11 because it won't count the last number. So a good way to think about it is the start is where you wanted to start it, and the stop is the first number where you don't want. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. And finally, we have random.randrange. Ooh, you may be wondering, this is kind of complicated. Oh my God. But it's basically the same as randint, but it gives you a little bit more functionality. So optional start, this needs a start. This is an optional start. For example, if you don't include the start, like it won't do anything. If you don't include the start, it'll start at 0. And stop plus step. You see the 1 here? An optional step? Imagine 1 as a step. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's at a step of 1. It's incrementing by 1. But the step here is the amount you want it to increment. So if the step is 2, it's 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Or if the step is 3, it's 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So the stop plus step is basically plus 1 here, but here the step is already 1, and here you're defining the step. That's the main difference. And then if you don't include the step, which is optional, by the way, the default step is 1. we will most likely use rand range as a function because that allows the most amount of functionality, and it's basically like you can use rand range to do rand int and random. So yeah. So now let's do a little bit of practice. And then after the practice, let's start coding. So you see the print random, right? So, and then you see another print random int 0 to 10. So try to like decide what range of values will be printed out when the thing occurs on all of these. So just try that. Please pause the video, and then from there we can start again. Okay. So as we went before, the random function gets a random number between 0 and 1, and the rand int. So again, remember this. You may be tempted. This is from 0 to 10, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, remember, the stop is stop plus 1. So I have to minus 1 from here. So this will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10 numbers right there. So that's very, very important. It's stop plus 1. So you start at 1 and you want to stop, and you don't want the number starting from 10. Think of it like that. It starts at 0, and the first number you don't want to include is 10. So it goes 0 to 9. And finally, if the list has elements apple, banana, strawberry, orange, random.choice. We didn't go into random.choice, but like I think it's a little bit self-explanatory here. If you see a list here, you're just picking one of the other. We won't go into this a little bit more detail. I just put this in order to like, because here's the thing. This is an important skill, right? I want to kind of like give the skill as we go through the course. You may not know all the functions, or you may not know all the code that's being given. That's very typical in computer science. You don't you won't even know 10% of the code, but you have to make do with what you have in order to get your work done. And that's the main skill for computer science. So that's like the main skill that you need to build if you want to be a successful software engineer. So this is why I included it here, because the dot choice and list, it could be very self-explanatory, but if that's not, it's completely all right. We'll slowly start to build that skill as we go on. And finally, we have the long one. So we have print random.randrange 10. Again, it's optional start. So if there's no start, it automatically starts at 0. And the stop is since there's no step here, the step is automatically 1. So it's stop plus 1. So it goes to 9, exactly like this. Now we do random.randrange 2 to 10. So it'll be from 2 to 9, as that's the first number we don't want. Just like kind of like this, but this time the start is 2. Next, we have randrange 0, 40, 10. Now you may be kind of confused, like why is it 0, 10, 20, 30? But like think about it, right? So if the step is 10, right, you start at 0. So it's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. At least hopefully you got to that. But the thing is, it stops at 30 because 40 is the first number which you don't want. So even if this was 31, even if this number was 31, it would still end at 30. If it was 39, it would still end at 30 because it's incrementing by 10. So you want to end at where this is. So the step below that is 30. So that's why it ends at 30. And lastly is this. It starts at 2 and it goes to 12. Step of 2, but you don't want to include 12. So because it's a step of 2, you have to do stop plus step. So you wanted to stop it at 10. So 10 plus 2 is 12. So you just minus 2 from this. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. It won't be 12 because that's the number which we start to don't want. Okay. Now let's actually code. So hopefully you have your file open. If you need a little bit more help with that, please be sure to watch my previous videos on where I kind of open like the VS Code and stuff like that. But let's just get started. So let's go through the random function first. The random module. So first thing we always need to do, import random. That's always what we wanted to do. Okay, now we can kind of play around with the random function. Random module. I don't know why I keep on saying function. Okay, so let's make a program where we add two random numbers. Let's just say that. First, let's make it just straight up. Then we can convert it to a function. So first, let's just get first one number. So num1 is equal to random dot rand range. And let's say we want a number between 0 and 10. So we can just say 10 here. Or sorry, 11. Because the start is optional. And if it's not, it automatically starts at 0. And the stop is stop plus 1. So that's why, because the step is 1 automatically, I'm not incrementing, so it's 11. So we'll go from 0 to 10. Let's say num2 is equal to random dot, let's just say randint now. Randint, let's just say 0 to 11. This is the same thing. I spell randint correctly. This is the same exact, this returns this, I mean, the range of numbers which this returns is the same exact thing, except this has an optionality of a step. But you need to, but for you to include step, you need to have a start as well. So for example, if you want a step to be 2, you cannot just do this, right? Because Python will treat this as a start and this as a stop, and they'll like, what? This doesn't make sense. So that's why you'd want to have like this if you wanted to increment by 2. But we don't want that here. So let's just delete that. Now let's just add it. So print num1 plus num2. And let's also print num1 and num2. Print num1, print num2. So let's run this. So num1 is 2, num2 is 5, and then the added value is 7. So it works. So now let's try it again. Ooh, now it's different numbers. Now it's 9. The first number is 9. The second number is 7. So then the final value is 16. Now let's run it again. 0, because the start is 0, right? Remember that. 6, and then 0 plus 6 is 6. So you see how like the random function is allowing you to get random numbers? That's a super important skill. Very important. And we can actually do a lot of fun stuff with random. Like a lot of fun stuff. So now let's just make a function just to get a little bit more practice with functions. So let's just make define addition. Let's make a very simple one for the homework. You guys made a little bit harder functions, but this one will just make it pretty easy. This gets num1, num2, and it just adds it together. Total is equal to num1 plus num2, and it returns that value. Okay, so now I think we could also do print 1, print 2. We can delete this. Okay, now we can just do print addition num1, num2. Okay, let's see if this works. Let me just delete this and start it again. First number is 6, second number is 1, adds them together, 7. We run it again. First number is 7, second number is 3, 10. So you know this works. And if you need any help with the functions, please be sure to watch my previous video. I can go through a little bit, like again, this is the parameters, and this returns the total, right? Hopefully this makes sense to you. So this numbers, I mean, I can make this a little bit more readable if I put it like this. So now num1 is here, num2 is here, num1, num2, and then these numbers will be passed on to this, and it prints them, and then it totals it, and it returns it, and then the return value will replace it with this. So total will be replaced with the function name, with the function call. So that's basically what you need to do there. So that's basically it. That's basically it for this video. Be sure to look at part 2 as well, where we go through the math module. And with the math module, that's where we'll assign the homework, and we'll go through more code for math. So I'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching.